Hello, dear friends. I have hesitated to publish this news, but knowledge is our best weapon. I do not advise anyone to invest in a cryptocurrency because of its high volatility, which attracts speculators, traders, and investors, as well as scammers. Many tokens are not legitimate, and investors get trapped by fake cryptocurrencies. Opinion piece. Well, digital currency. Unicoin unveiled. Unicorn hunters. Universal currency unit. Anticipating digital currencies. A single currency for the whole world would revolutionize the world economy. It would not replace legal tender. Would be a complementary monetary product. Should not be enacted as a legal tender. Let's start. A new global currency has been launched in anticipation of central bank digital currencies, but 99% of the world's population has no idea what has just happened. The Universal Currency Unit, also known as Unicoin, is an international central bank digital currency that has been designed to work in conjunction with all existing national currencies. The widespread adoption of a new global currency would be a step forward for the globalist agenda. The IMF didn't create this new currency, but it has been unveiled at a major IMF meeting. Unicoin is a new central bank digital currency intended to shore up the beleaguered international banking system, according to news reports, but the IMF website has not reported on it, and ChatGPT's artificial intelligence is unaware of its existence. According to the coin's founder, Steve Wozniak, the coin is linked to the financial performance of the companies in which the unicorn hunters have invested, making it an asset-backed cryptocurrency. Unicorn hunters. In business and investment, the term unicorn hunters is used to describe individuals or companies looking to invest in startups that have a high potential to grow and become companies valued at least $1 billion. These startups are called unicorns because they are rare and hard to find, just like medical unicorns. Unicorn hunters are investors who seek to find and fund these startups before they become popular in the market and their shares become too expensive to invest in. Unicorn hunters look for startups with innovative products, a scalable business model, and a strong market presence. They seek to invest in startups that have the potential to grow rapidly and become leaders in their market. Unicorn hunters are typically venture capitalists, investment funds, private equity firms, and other financial institutions seeking high returns by investing in these high potential startups. Globalism. They claim that Unicoin will represent all currencies and use SWIFT to move it. It is a global fiat currency for a future world government and a new world order. It's a question. The question is up in the air. The consortium of central bank advocates told the public that Unicoin will not replace the current legal tender in every country. The Digital Currency Monetary Authority announced the launch of the Universal Currency Unit, also called Unicoin, at the IMF's 2023 spring meeting, which it claims will, in quotes, strengthen the monetary sovereignty of participating central banks. According to Darrell Hubbard, Executive Director of the Monetary Authority, this vision is the exact solution being provided by central banks around the world. Close quotes. The authority praises Unicoin as an innovation in artificial intelligence driven store of value cryptocurrency. it adopts a central bank monetary policy framework to ensure it has continuous buying demand, minimal price volatility, and annual asset pricing targets. Close quotes. The universal currency unit is a monetary product can transact in any legal tender, settlement, currency, and functions as a central bank digital currency to enforce banking regulations and protect the financial integrity of the international banking system. Banks can attach bank codes and accounts to the UMU digital currency wallet and transact SWIFT-like cross-border payments through digital currency rails without going through the corresponding banking system at the best priced wholesale rates and with instant real-time settlement. The authority presents the universal currency unit as a crypto 2.0 because it innovates a new wave of cryptographic technologies to realize a public digital currency public monetary system with a widespread adoption framework that encompasses use cases for all constituents in a global economy. Unicoin, in quotes, should not be enacted as a legal tender to negotiate domestic prices or international trade agreements, the monetary authority said. Instead, it proposes that it be enacted as a complementary monetary product for the store of value, mitigating against potential seasonal and systemic depreciation of the local currency, and offered as a payment currency at the time of settlement. Advantages and disadvantages. Will we lose freedom and privacy with central bank digital currency? The introduction of digital currency could have significant consequences for privacy and financial freedom. On the one hand, the use of a digital currency can provide greater security and efficiency in financial transactions, reduce the cost of transferring funds, and improve financial inclusion for those who do not have access to traditional banking services. On the other hand, there is a consent that a central bank digital currency would allow greater control and surveillance over individuals' financial transactions, as all transactions would be recorded in a centralized database and would be traceable. This could undermine financial privacy and create security problems if a data breach occurs. It is important that regulators and policy makers carefully consider how a digital currency would be implemented to ensure that individuals' rights to privacy and financial freedom are protected. Robust security measures must be implemented and ensure that users' data is treated securely and protected against unauthorized access. Clear and balanced regulatory frameworks to the use of digital currencies must also be established with a focus on transparency and accountability. Critics. Meanwhile, critics of digital currencies express opposition to the trend, with some calling it a path to financial slavery that would always be a useful companion to political tyranny. More critics see them as a way to introduce social credit scores and digital IDs, allowing people to cede control over their own assets and how much they spend to the government. Unlike cash and decentralized cryptocurrency, there are fears that digital currencies spell the end of private financial affairs and usher in even greater surveillance by the authorities. Civil rights and privacy advocates have warned that CBDCs will essentially eliminate economic autonomy because central banks could monitor and program how their currency is spent, much like China and its social credit system. As we move into a period of inflation, there are fears of increased financial repression and centralized planning by governments. The president of the European Central Bank unveiled plans to launch a digital euro and said there will be control over payments. Lagarde recently admitted that digital currencies are bound to consolidate central banks' financial control at the expense of people's financial freedom. The Federal Reserve has also announced that it will introduce its own digital currency this July. And don't forget, Bank for International Settlements General Manager Agustín Carstens revealed in 2021 that CBDCs will be used to control populations. In quotes, "We don't know who is using a $100 note today, and we don't know who is using a 1,000 peso note today. The key difference with CBDC is that the central bank will have absolute control over the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank responsibility, and we will also have the technology to enforce it." Close quotes. As we move into a period of inflation, there are fears of increased financial repression and centralized planning by governments. Measures would include the introduction of central bank digital currencies, which could give authorities absolute control over money. Can you imagine a world where you can't buy food for a while because you have already used up your carbon credits for the month? Financial privilege could potentially be curtailed at any time by a government bureaucrat, and if you are a dissident, you could be permanently removed from the system. Concentrating even more power in the hands of the international elite is always a bad idea. Digital euro. When will the digital euro be introduced? The implementation of the digital euro is not yet confirmed and is currently under discussion and study in the European Union. The European Central Bank launched a public consultation on the possible introduction of a digital euro in October 2020 and received more than 8,000 responses from citizens, businesses and organizations. In July 2021, the ECB announced that it had set up a dedicated team to explore the possible issuance of a digital euro and would conduct practical experiments to assess its technical and economic feasibility. The ECB has stated that it will take a decision on whether or not to issue a digital euro in the coming years, and that any possible implementation would be subject to the approval of EU policy makers and regulators. The introduction of a digital euro could have important implications for the EU's financial and economic system, and it is important that a careful assessment of the benefits and risks is made before a decision is taken. The ECB has stated that any digital euro issued would be based on principles of security, privacy, and technological neutrality. Gold backing. Will gold or asset-backed currency return? Since 1970s, most countries have adopted a floating rate monetary system in which the value of currencies is determined by supply and demand in the foreign exchange market. This means that the value of the currency is not directly linked to any particular asset, such as gold. The idea of backing a currency with gold or assets has been the subject of debate among economists and politicians. Some argue that a gold or asset-backed currency would provide greater stability and confidence in the currency, as it would be backed by something tangible. Others argue that such a system could be inflexible and limit the ability of central banks to respond to economic fluctuations. At present, central banks need to hold reserves of gold and other assets, but these reserves are mainly used to support financial stability and to diversify the risks in their portfolios. New ideas and proposals for the reintroduction of gold or asset-backed currency may emerge in the future. Economic signals. If you have China and Russia dumping their US bonds, it's a problem. Warren Buffett sold most of his semiconductor stocks in Taiwan last week. Asian countries have put forward a proposal to establish an Asian monetary fund to reduce reliance on Western currencies, to conduct their financial transactions using their national currencies. According to Goldilocks, Russia is preparing a bill to allow cryptocurrency for international trade. We have several countries around the world that are proposing and opening the door to the use of digital tokens as a form of payment instead of traditional credit lines to the dollar to settle their international transactions. This will minimize the use of the dollar and level the playing field between Eastern and Western countries. It will create a global demand for currencies that could increase the value of national currencies around the world. Silver is seen as a confidence indicator for gold and has done well, although buying is declining. Gold above $2,000 is attracting a lot of interest. Panic. According to the X22 report, Lagarde just said the quiet part out loud. A state of panic. Planned economic crisis. All the films are playing at the same time. Nothing can stop this. Bank crashes expose the weakness of the financial sector, according to Lynette Thang. According to former bank chief Alastair MacLeod, depositors have been withdrawing their funds from regional banks and transferring them to systematically important banks. It is to say, banks that are more likely to be backed by the government. It won't take much to trigger a sell-off against the dollar, says MacLeod. Grey hats. According to Logan, the grey hats are white hats that tend to the dark side as they continue to combine the galactics that they were going to do the one task they were given, at the same time that the galactics keep telling us for years that they have it all under control. I hope that the galactics will rectify this situation quickly. According to Aaron L., the new rainbow nodes are backed by precious metals and are connected to the new quantum computers, including Musk's SpaceX and the Space Force. Conflicting news according to Holly. There are massive blockades with any information coming out, massive misinformation floating around. Best to ignore it all, as it will be very confusing. Stay in the knowledge that they said it will be very confusing at the end. There is a lot going on behind the scenes and we don't know the details. We are making the transition from Admiralty law to common law. 25th April is the next date when the template will again be attempted to be applied to 3D land after a failed attempt on 20th March. This operation would go smoothly if the Earth were bathed in a 432 or 528 Hz frequency to transmute the rubbish. Is D-Day June 6th? According to Valiant Thor, the timelines converge to approximately June as a logical time frame. There is still a lot of dead man traps and switches that need to be neutralized. He said they are taking out the worst of the inferior fools. Ukraine. A bright flash appears in the sky over Kiev. The US has sensitive nuclear technology at the Zaporizhzhia plant and wants Russia not to touch it, according to CNN. Spain imports more Ukrainian grain than ever before. Reflections. Smart cities, armed concentration camps, says Awakening Channel. Always look at the bright side of life, said the Monty Python film Life of Brian. It didn't make fun of Jesus, but of pomposity in organized religion. Peace begins in your heart. Forgiveness of self takes back the energy you were giving up in guilt and resistance against the past. It frees you to become yourself again, a new, happier, wiser you. If we can forgive ourselves, then we can more easily forgive others. If we do not feel able to forgive others, then clearly we have not learned to love ourselves. If people don't get it now, there is nothing more that can be done to save them, says Jim Stowe. Those who don't get it now are a lost cause, without any kind of compass that can point them to the truth, perhaps because they never cared about the truth anyway. They only cared about what worked, even if it ate them alive. It takes real moral fiber, brains and a compass in your soul to figure out where you are headed. It's time to lace up your shoes and walk the walk. You will have to stand tall. Operation Disclosure by Thinker 2. I see crazy people. Crazy people don't know they are crazy. The devil is considered to be the father of all lies. People cannot be controlled with the truth. Only lies have the power to make people crazy. They treat the truthful as they would their enemy. Is truth the enemy? He who is mad cannot tell the truth because he has no truth to offer. The color of your that makes little difference. The color of your hat makes little difference if you fail to see your madness. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.